Brian Flores, the Vikings defensive coordinator, was the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. His situation has been well documented. He filed a lawsuit after being fired by the Dolphins against the NFL, the Dolphins, the Giants, the Broncos, and ultimately amended the lawsuit to include the Texans, who did not hire him when they had a vacancy. The case speaks to the NFL's longstanding history of racial bias in the hiring of coaches. Troy Vincent, the executive VP of football operations, basically admitted it in comments after the lawsuit was filed. It was filed more than 2 years ago. It's still stuck on the question, as these cases often are, of whether or not it's going to be an arbitration or open court. Against that backdrop, Flores, who did a great job last year turning around a horrible Vikings defense in 2023, got no interviews to be a head coach. None. His name never even came up. So he's taking part in the NFL's Coach Accelerator program, which is one of the devices the NFL has put in place to try to get the owners to expand their horizons a little bit when the time comes to figure out who their coaches are going to be. And I like the fact, Myles, that he's doing this. He's calling them on it. I'm doing everything I can. He shouldn't have to go to this. He's been a head coach, and he's done well as a head coach, and he's done well as a defensive coordinator. But, hey, I represented enough companies that got sued and enough employees who did the suing while they were still employed. Once you stick your legal finger in the eye of management, you are branded. This isn't about race at this point. This is about, how dare you do this to us? How dare you take us on? Who do you think you are? Suing us will show you. So I think it's great that the Steelers gave him a chance after the lawsuit was filed, added him to the coaching staff. I think it's great the Vikings made him defensive coordinator. But, Myles, hey, I say this all the time. They are who I think they are. And if they want to prove me wrong, feel free. But I don't see any of these owners ever hiring Brian Flores to be a head coach again.
I have a hard time seeing it as well. I do think it is great that he's going to be a part of this program. I mean, because it's not that he really needs it, but to be in front of the owners regardless, and to, get to walk around, shake hands, do all those different kinds of things that some team GMs, like Rand Carthon comes to mind, have said that this program has helped them, right? He has said that when he got to meet Amy Adams Strunk at one of these Accelerator program events, that's where they started it off, and he ends up being the GM of the Tennessee Titans. So who knows? Maybe there is an owner that wants to surprise us, by getting in front of Brian Flores and seeing him for real, and then realizing, hey, he did take a Dolphins team that was bad, and he helped turn that thing around, and he had 2 winning records in his last 2 seasons as head coach there. So this is at least going to make those owners look at him as a potential candidate. Whether they want to hire him or not, we don't know, but he is going to be there.
Well, these things potentially make his case stronger. He could amend it at some point. Again, it's still stuck in square one, just like the John Gruden case was for years. The Flores case, which has been expanded to include both Steve Wilkes and Ray Horton as plaintiffs. And there was a preliminary ruling on arbitration, and some of the claims go to arbitration, some stay in court. I think both sides requested reconsideration. That thing has been bogged down. It's just bogged down. I mean, that's how a lot of civil cases end up. They just fall into a black hole, and they just stay there. And what can you do? Everybody's afraid to try to nudge the court to get moving, because the fear is, and I've been there, if you nudge the court, hey, can we get a ruling on that? Oh, fine. Here's the ruling. You lose. How's that? How's that? How's that? You like that ruling? Go away. There's a ruling. Get the hell out of here. So it's still, I think, wise that he's doing. But, Myles, I think back about your Browns and a couple of years ago. Remember the response that the Haslams got after breaking ranks and giving Deshaun Watson the 5-year fully guaranteed contract? The cold shoulder at the league meetings? Oh, yeah. This is the problem. Whoever hires Brian Flores to be the head coach is going to get pushback, or is going to get, awkward glances or strained conversations with John Mara, and I don't know how much the Walmart clan really cares about the Broncos being added because it was prior to them, but still, there's an attack on their balance sheets. The Texans, the Dolphins, Stephen Ross. Look at the problems Brian Flores caused for Stephen Ross. Brian Flores ultimately caused Stephen Ross to lose a first-round pick and a third-round pick because there's no tampering investigation and punishment without Brian Flores making the issue of, remember the $100,000 per loss that was offered to him when he claimed that Stephen Ross wanted to tank? He caused a lot of problems for Stephen Ross. So if you hire Brian Flores to be your head coach, you're going to have some enemies in the ranks of club oligarch. And that shouldn't be that way. And it shouldn't be a factor. And I will heavily applaud and praise anyone who ignores those factors and does the right thing, but it ain't going to happen. Ain't going to happen. So I like the fact that Brian Flores is pushing them and calling them on it. Here I am. Here's my resume. Let's talk about my work history that might qualify me to be a head coach. Oh, how about this? How about what I did as head coach of the Dolphins? How about what I'm doing as defensive coordinator to the Vikings? So I don't think it's going to matter, but hopefully it'll make a difference, and hopefully he'll get another opportunity because he's already proven he deserves one.
Yes, no doubt. No doubt. I mean, like you said, I mean, from his work as a head coach to what he has now done as a coordinator, I mean, there's no doubt that he is one of the better coaches in the NFL, period. Right. So we will see if that ends up in him becoming a head coach again. But yeah, if I were a betting man, and I'm really not, I don't know that I would put good money on that.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.